I didn't set out for this to be a copycat cookie recipe. In fact, I developed this recipe a couple years ago. I was going to save it for my cookbook, but it's just so good that I had to share it on the blog now. So if you've ever had Chick-fil-A's chocolate chip cookie, they have some oats in them, they have a nice hearty base and like a really good flavor. Imagine if you took that cookie and you made it super gourmet, more flavorful, more chewy, and this is the cookie you make when you want a super flavorful cookie, but you don't feel like taking the time to brown and chill butter. We are building an incredibly flavorful base. We're using basic ingredients to do it, no fancy technique. I'm going to let you guys see and taste this for yourself, so let me show you how to make it. We're starting with 1 cup of softened unsalted butter. Wish it was a little softer, but my kitchen is very cold right now. And we were talking about key ingredients, brown sugar, dark brown sugar. This is 1 1/4 cups or 250 grams of firmly packed dark brown sugar. This adds so much flavor. And I had a couple people the other day saying, you don't need to pack the sugar if you're weighing it. That's actually true, you don't need to, but generally I still do anyway because brown sugar is prone to lumps, and when you pack it, you just break them up. It's going to make it easier to combine things. We didn't go 100% dark brown sugar. Tried that route, wasn't quite right. We needed some granulated sugar. This is a 1/2 cup or 100 grams of granulated sugar that goes in as well. For this recipe, you're going to want to use either your stand mixer with a paddle attachment, or today I'm just using my electric mixer. And we're going to beat everything until it's creamy and well combined. Let's go ahead and see if my butter will cooperate because I mentioned it's cold in here. Okay, that took me a while, but let's take a look at the batter. I just want you to see, or the dough, and you can just see everything's well combined at this point. It's kind of fluffy. You don't have to go crazy. You just want to get that butter and sugar nice incorporated and creamy. All right, next up, 2 large eggs. I do prefer these to be room temperature. 1, 2. Can you tell these are store-bought eggs and not my chicken's eggs because they're so yellow? We're going to add vanilla extract here as well. So I used to be one of those people who's like, I measure vanilla with my heart. There is a downside to doing that, and it's that you can make your cookies too sweet and just taste a little overbearing if you go too crazy with it. So I do measure vanilla, and we are measuring 1 1/2 teaspoons today. With all of the brown sugar and everything we're doing to really build the base of these cookies, if you kind of go much higher than that, you're gonna think your cookies are too sweet. All right, let's stir these in until everything's nicely combined. Looks like I left some dough on my spatula. Don't want to waste that. I'm gonna go ahead and incorporate these. We need a separate bowl for our dry ingredients. You always want to do your dry ingredients in a separate bowl. That way you can make sure you're incorporating all the leavening agents properly, getting everything nicely distributed before it goes with the wet ingredients. You're going to get a more uniform dough and a cookie that bakes properly and evenly. This is 2 2/3 cups of all-purpose flour, not some-purpose flour. We'll also add a tablespoon of cornstarch. Cornstarch is a key player in a lot of my cookie recipes. This one specifically, I wanted to include it because I wanted a cookie that was a little bit thicker, but still had a nice chew to it. So instead of adding more flour, we add less cornstarch, gives you a really nice body to your cookie, keeps it nice and chewy, but also stays a little thicker. 3/4 teaspoon baking soda and 3/4 teaspoon baking powder with a little brown sugar mixed in there, it looks like, and 3/4 teaspoon of table salt. We're going to be sprinkling the tops of the cookies with sea salt. So use a tad bit less than we would otherwise. If you're not planning on adding sea salt to the top, you'd want to use a teaspoon of salt. Please add the sea salt. All right, go ahead and whisk everything together. I do the oats a little bit later on. And let's gradually stir this into our butter mixture. 2 or 3 parts, low speed, just to prevent things from flying all over the place. Come together pretty quickly. A lot of the times you need to be more gradual with your flour because we're adding oats. There's not as much flour as there would be otherwise. Scrape the sides and bottom of the bowl, important step, and then we can add our oats. All right, we are going to add 1 cup or 100 grams of old-fashioned oats, and we'll just stir these in. You can do this by hand, but the dough can be a bit stiff, so you can use your mixer on low speed if you prefer. I'm just going to kind of mostly get things incorporated because we're not done yet. We still have one more thing to add. And that is our chocolate. You will need 6 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate for this recipe. If you want to do a mix of semi-sweet and milk chocolate, I think that's what Chick-fil-A does. So if you're going for a truer copycat, opt for that. I just prefer semi-sweet. I am going to strongly recommend you take a bar and you chop it up yourself rather than buying and using chocolate chips. Chocolate chips, I'm sorry, they're not the best chocolate all the time. They're not the best choice all of the time. And for this cookie where I kind of was going for those gourmet vibes, as I'm like hating myself for saying the word vibes again, it really warranted a chopped chocolate bar. So this is Baker's brand. I get a lot of questions about which brands I use. I usually use Baker's or Ghirardelli. This is Baker's. I like that it's a bit thicker, gives you heartier chunks of chocolate in the dough, which I like. Also, with this dough, we were aiming to not overwhelm the cookie with chocolate. Some cookies just way too high of a ratio of chocolate. I wanted to keep it balanced so you get nice bits of chocolate in every bite, but you're not, like, you are enjoying the taste of the cookie dough too, because it's so good. So you really want the opportunity to experience that. All right, once this is chopped up, because you used a chocolate bar, you've got a nice variety of shapes and sizes, as well as this tiny little flecks of chocolate that are just going to melt into your dough. It's really amazing. Go ahead and add this in, our last bit of chocolate. Oh, and I just realized we have some stuff left on our beaters, and we are not going to leave that behind. I don't know if I told you guys this in the beginning or not. This is not a super oat forward recipe. They're oats, they're present, but it's not like an oatmeal cookie where it's super oaty and most of the dough is oats. It adds a nice accent. We've got our oats nicely distributed, our chocolate nicely distributed. So now comes the hardest part of the whole entire recipe, mostly because we have to bring out the plastic wrap. If you have a plastic lid for your bowl or a airtight lid for your bowl, you can use that. Otherwise, cover it with plastic wrap. You're gonna chill the dough. It's going to need to chill for a minimum of 30 minutes. I find that to be sufficient, but you can chill it for up to 3 or 4 days. It'll help develop the flavor, and your cookies will spread less, so they'll be thicker. So if you're looking for like a really nice thick cookie, you can just chill them longer. You get better with age, but they're also good after 30 minutes. I'll see you then. Okay, while your dough is chilling, you'll want to get your oven preheating to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. This is ready to go. Grab a baking sheet, line it with parchment paper, and if I can get this little plastic wrap off, there we go. You can make these cookies more traditional size, like, 2 tablespoons. That's totally fine. I like to make them bigger. I like to make them a little bit more gourmet. So I scoop 1/4 cup of dough. Nikki, what is that in grams? 85 grams of dough. Thank you, Nikki. And I'm not going to roll these. I like them looking a little bit more rustic. So I'm just going to drop them right on the baking sheet. And we are going to space the cookies at least 2 inches apart. Since these are pretty big cookies and I want them to bake evenly, nice and evenly, I'm only going to do 4 to a baking sheet. Just feels a little safer that way. You never want to crowd your cookies. They will just melt into each other and make a mess. You need a little chocolate there, buddy. These are going into the center rack of our 375 degree Fahrenheit oven. They need to bake for about 9 to 10 minutes. I look for them to be beginning to turn a nice light golden brown. All right, so these should be a nice golden brown around the edges. I think I mentioned that. The very centers can be ever so slightly underdone because we want to let them cool completely on the baking sheet. That residual warmth will finish cooking them through. That'll keep them nice and soft for days, as opposed to cooking them all the way through in the oven, letting them get overdone on the baking sheet, and then having a crumbly dry cookie. While they're still warm, we're going to sprinkle them with a little bit of flaky sea salt. I love this Melt-On sea salt. I get it on Amazon. I will try to remember to put a link in the description for it. I've had the same box for like 5 years. So we just sprinkle them. You do want to do it while it's still warm. That way the salt will stick to the cookies. And now we just let them cool. These are still amazing warm, so just let them cool enough that you can pick them up without them, falling apart. That is how you make these, I don't really know what I'm gonna call them. Choc-oat-chip cookies, better than Chick-fil-A cookies. I'm not sure what you wanna call them, but they're amazing, and I highly recommend you try it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. All right, this is the best part. This guy's still pretty warm. Ooh, this one's still gooey. It could have used a little more time to finish cooking, but I like them better this way. This is so good. I love it. I don't know really how to start this recipe because there's so many things I want to say about it. Here. Oh, no, it's not going to cooperate. I've looked at how much it is like a million times, and I still have to check. Melted butter never makes me work this hard. Chilling. I'm sorry, I had to double check that it was recording, even though it was. Have I said vibes twice now? I don't ever use the word vibes. Sorry, give me a second.